Hello and welcome to another Spikemark Tech Tip. My name is Mike Wade. I'm the Director of Technical Services here at Creative Connors, and today we're going to be talking about how to overspeed a stagehand controller from within Spikemark. I get a lot of questions about why would you want to overspeed something and what does that actually mean? These are questions that are generally followed almost immediately or preceded by I need to make my turntable go faster. So what we're looking at today is how to do this from within Spikemark using a Stagehand Apprentice. And what we got on the screen right here is a winch. I have a winch set up that I know can go 17 inches per second. How do I know that? Well, it came from the machine library, so I'm pretty certain that that is all right. But how can we check that? So let's say we have a machine, a turntable, or a winch that we built. We're not really sure what its max speed really is. So the way we can test that is just by confirming that our max jogging speed is set to 100, and we can grab the axis and slide our speed up all the way to full. So jam it all the way over, and look, we're pegging right around 17 point something, 16 point something. So I think what that means is that we can realistically go 17 inches per second. I'm going to get ourselves back down to about 0 as we're talking about this. So we can go there. So we know we can go 17 inches a second. So let's take a look at our cues here. So if I started from Q2 and I knew that my starting position was 0 and I needed to get to 180, and at 17 inches a second, which is our max speed here, the quickest I'm going to realistically be able to do that is in 12 seconds, and that's with a 1 second ramp time. So if there are people or props on that wagon that we're pulling around, that could be a pretty abrupt move at the beginning and the end, as our A cell and our D cell are symmetrical. But let's say we can't do that. Let's say we need to make that move happen in 8 seconds. How would we make it go faster? So there's a few things we could do. First off, what we could do is simply just, live on the edge and type in a number that we think is right. So let's say it's going to be 30 inches a second will be our max speed. And let's go back over here and change our speed to 30 inches per second. Hey, look, 30 inches per second with a 2-second ramp time. So that's an acceleration of 15 inches per second squared. Gets us to a total time of 8 seconds. That's perfect, right? So why don't we just load and go and let's see what happens. We said, oh no, we only made it 24 inches and we position faulted. Why is that? That's because our abort on position error is turned on and our max position error is about 5 inches for this particular machine. So it took us 24 inches before we were before we had breached the max position error. So we know that that can't work. We can't just max speed it. If we wanted to be in the wild, wild west, we could uncheck abort on position error in the advanced schematic. We could click load and go one more time. And look, it's going to keep running. But if we watch our countdown timer right here, we're going to 180 and we are going into negative numbers. We're going into negative numbers on our timer. So we actually made it to our specified target, but we missed the timing. So that's kind of a bummer, especially when you're talking about turntables and musicals and you're trying to match time. You can say anything you want in there with the speed, but if you can't actually go that fast, we're never going to get there. So I'm going to turn abort on position error back on because I don't like living in the wild, wild west right now. And we're going to see how we can actually get to 30 inches a second for our max speed. So we're going to squeeze back up here and take a look at that next. All right, so I have a Stagehand Apprentice, as I mentioned, and we know that we want to make this go 30 inches per second. So how do we do that? Well, in the drive section in the Stagehand Properties pane, we can click on the Auto Tune area. So we have a couple values here. So if we look at the Apprentice Auto Tune, this is going to look very similar if you have a Stagehand Pro as well. The drive values are going to be what is read from currently on the drive. Your values are the values that you input for what you're doing. Now I have a tiny little half horsepower 1 horsepower motor, excuse me, sitting here on my desk. And so my motor current, my my rated voltage, my motor capacity, and my rated frequency and baseline frequencies are all information that comes from the motor nameplate. So you should check out that before you hop in here with whatever your motor is. Now, the piece of the puzzle that's really exciting is our PR125 or parameter 125, which is the gain frequency. So we're currently, our output is 60 hertz. So at 60 hertz, we can go 17 inches a second. If we went up to 120 hertz, we would get a max output of 34 inches per second, which is pretty cool, right? Because we're doubling it. So let's just say, let's go to 110 hertz on our output. So type that in, press tab to commit, and then click write parameters. And I'm just reading those parameters back to make sure that they're all good. And look at that, they all match. So from here we can close. And now let's try this again. Let's say I want to check out my indicated speed here. I'm going to click this and grab it. And it looks like we can get up to about 30 inches per second, excuse me, which is pretty great. And that's pretty close to what we really want it to be, right? So now that we can do that, we're back to 0. I'm going to click and load my cue that is 180 degrees. And we're off. And if we take a look at our indicated speed here, it's 30. And if we watch our time here, we landed at 0 and everything was good. So this was our quick little primer on how to change your max speed settings within Spikemark and to overspeed your drive through the drive communication panel. I hope this was helpful. If you've got any questions or comments, feel free to reach out to support@CreativeConnors. Thanks a lot.